beautiful people. I hope you all are having an amazing, marvelous, and magnificent day or night. Welcome back to my channel. My name is TV, and if you're a true crime lover like me, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with anyone that may be interested in this type of content. Before we get into today's video, I just want to shout out my first comment winner, Key Marie. Thank you so much for being the first comment winner. And so let's go ahead and get straight into the video. I have like 30 minutes because I have a Zoom call, so let's go ahead. Sit back, relax, grab a snack, some water, some wine, some juice, anything that warms your little heart, and enjoy another crazy ass story. Warning, this video may contain details of graphic content. This channel is for mature audiences only. Some viewers might find this disturbing. Julie Patterson had never really had it easy living in Darlington in the northeast of England. When she was just an infant, her mother died of a brain tumor, leaving her and her 3-year-old brother Michael to be raised by their father. By the time she was 32 years old, she had 4 children, but had lost custody of 3 of them. She shared the youngest child with her boyfriend, Alan Taylor. Throughout her life, Julie had been prone to depression, which was amplified by her addiction to alcohol and Valium. Alan knew Julie well and was used to her bouts of depression. He also knew that it wasn't unusual for her to go to a pub in Darlington and not return for a few days. She had been gone as long as a week in the past, but never longer. In April 1998, Julie left for a pub and didn't come home the next day. As the days went by, Alan initially didn't worry. It wasn't the first time. However, when Julie missed an appointment to visit her eldest daughter, he knew something was wrong. That was one appointment that Julie never missed. He searched that local neighborhood, checked the local pubs, and called her friends and family. When nobody had heard from her, he called Darlington police to report her missing. Since she had already been missing several days, police immediately started searching local parks, woodlands, rivers, and ponds. After days of searching, there was still no sign of Julie. On May 16, 1998, a police dog picked up the scent of a human near a fence along a rarely traveled footpath. On the other side of a fence was a dilapidated house with an overgrown garden. The dog handler assumed the property was abandoned and entered the garden. The property wasn't abandoned, however, and a woman came out of the door to ask what he was doing. When he explained that his dog had picked up a scent, the woman pointed toward the edge of the garden and explained that there was a garbage bag beneath a shrub. She said some boys had thrown it over the fence several days before. She told the officer she assumed it contained a dead dog because it had started to smell. As soon as the officer opened the bag, he knew it was the smell of decomposition. But it wasn't a dog, it was a human. A forensic examination determined it was Julie Patterson, but it wasn't all of her. The bag only contained her torso. Both legs, both arms, and the head were missing. Before the news of Julie's death had hit the newspapers, a man named David Harker was in a local pub, bragging to friends that he had killed a girl named Julie. 24-year-old Harker, however, was a man known for telling tall tales, and none of his friends took him seriously. David had lived his entire life in the northeast of England and had trouble with the law at an early age. As a boy, he tortured and mutilated small animals. That's always how they start. At just 16, he attacked 2 men and their dog, resulting in the death of the dog. For this attack, he was sent to a young offenders institution for a brief time. But there were 2 sides to David. To most of his friends and acquaintances, he seemed like a good kid. He was charming, popular, and outgoing. His good looks made him a hit with the ladies, so he had no problem finding women to have intercourse with him. In his later teen years, David sang for a punk band called Downfall, and many young kids in the punk rock scene admired and looked up to him. On the sides of his shaved head, he had tattooed the names of his favorite punk bands, Disorder and Subhumans. David spoke up against racist and SOs. He came across as polite and respectful, but when his girlfriend and the mother of his 4-year-old son left him, he fell into a deep depression. His drinking increased and he became belligerent and angry. His anger issues got him banned from many pubs in the town. On one occasion, he got so angry that he put his fist through a pub window. David was also an avid fan of true crime, reading every book about serial killers he could find. He often told his friends he would be a great serial killer because he knew so much about how to not get caught. His nickname for himself was Devilman. David had bragged to no less than 28 friends that he had killed a girl named Julie because he was usually drunk when he made the claim. None of his friends believed him. However, when the discovery of Julie's torso reached the newspaper, his friends reconsidered the possibility. That evening, after the news was released, several of his best friends speculated the possibilities. Together, they read the article in the newspaper over and over. Could he have been telling the truth? Was he really capable of the level of mayhem? That night, David's best friend walked into a Darlington police station and told them of David's boast. Just days before his friends went to the police, David had been arrested on a robbery charge and was awaiting trial at a Bayswater hostel. With David already in custody, detectives obtained a warrant and searched his apartment. It was immediately obvious that his friends were correct, while David was the killer. The apartment walls and floor were literally covered in dark red dried blood. It was clear that he had killed her in the apartment. He made no attempt to clean the crime scene. Dang. Well, so much. He said he knew how to get away with murder. Clearly you didn't, or you just didn't care. Mr. True Crime. Bloody drag marks led from the hallway near the stairs to the kitchen. The kitchen had several large hooks attached to the ceiling, and the whole place smelled dank and musky. The basement of his apartment was even bloodier than the main level. A forensic team matched the blood in his apartment to Julie Patterson, and clothes found in the basement belonged to Julie. The apartment itself was stark yet messy. On the walls he had scribbled macabre letters to his favorite heavy metal songs. The floor could barely be seen through a layer of garbage and beer cans. Oh my goodness. His bedroom contained only an old mattress on the floor, surrounded by various porn magazines. On his bookshelf, police found several books about serial killers, a book about how to survive in prison, and another on how to dodge questions during a police interview. Oh, so this was premeditated. This sounds premeditated. Police arrested David at the Basel hostel where he was being held. During questioning, he initially denied killing despite the overwhelming evidence at his apartment and the statements of several close friends. Eventually, however, he confessed and told detectives the gruesome details of the murder. David and Julie met one evening in April at a pub in Darlington. After a night of drinking, David charmed his way into getting her back to his apartment. Once there, they had consensual sex, but in the middle of intercourse, he claimed that he got bored and strangled her with one of her stockings. I mean, usually when people get bored during intercourse, they switch positions. I don't know why you got bored and wanted to strangle someone. That's just beyond me. As our body lay there on the mattress, oh my god, he had intercourse with her cold corpse. The next day, he cut a chunk, oh my god, of flesh from her thigh using a kitchen knife, placed it in a pan and cooked it with garlic. Oh my god, this was giving Jeffrey Dahmer. David then dragged her to the basement where he wiped the body with bleach and kept her for several weeks. Using a saw, he cut off her body parts. Detectives knew what he did with the torso, but David refused to say what he did with the head, arms, and legs. During interviews with psychiatrists, David said, quote, "People like me don't come from those films. Those films come from people like me," end quote. He told them that his ambition was to become Britain's youngest and most notorious serial killer. He was destined to get caught, however, because he couldn't help but boast about his crime. David Harker pleaded guilty to manslaughter on grounds of diminished responsibility. The sentence was essentially the same as a murder charge: life imprisonment with eligibility of parole in 14 years. At his sentencing, one of the psychiatrists that analyzed David said that he was pure evil, that no hospital treatment could be given for him. He suffered from multiple mental disorders, and putting him in a mental institution would be a waste of time. Okay, hair in my eye. The psychiatrist determined that he was in the top 4% of Britain's most disturbed men. As a result, he was sent to a high-security prison rather than a mental hospital. At sentencing, the judge told David, quote, "You are an evil and exceptionally dangerous man. You killed her in the most terrible circumstances and dismembered her body. You glorified in her death and the manner of her death. I have no doubt that given the slightest opportunity, you will kill again," end quote. Even in prison, David basked in his depravity. Despite Julie's family's requests, he refused to tell what he had done with the rest of her body. Freddie Newman, the father of 2 of Julie's children, sent letters to David in prison, but he only replied with words of torment. Wow. This is what he said. This is what he responded back to. Quote, "It's always good to know that people are thinking of me, especially those who suffer because of my actions. You are correct when you speak of decency. I have none. I have no inhibitions, remorse, or regret, and therefore care not one bit if your wife has a full body burial or not. I hope you are happy in the knowledge that you don't suffer alone in your loss. Your wife was not the first or the last person I killed. You ask why I have done this evil thing. Well, I could intellectualize endlessly about murder, mutilation, decapitation, and cannibalism, but a man of your intellect wouldn't be able to grasp any of it." What? He's not done. "So to give you something you could understand, I killed all the people I did because I enjoyed it. Do you hate the evil man who chopped up and ate your wife? I am not evil Mr. Newman, but I am a monster. Don't bother writing to me again or I will show you terror unbound. You already did. I do have your address now. Goodbye, Mr. Newman." End quote. Freddie Newman never, oh my goodness. Freddie Newman never recovered from Julie's death and eventually took himself out in 2006. Alan Taylor, the father of Julie's youngest child and her partner at the time of her death, suffered from the loss as well. It consumed him. Taylor became obsessed with trying to find the missing parts of Julie's home and spent years digging holes in the ground all over Darlington. He would often weep over her gravesite and say, quote, "How can she be at rest? She's not even here," end quote. Dang. Like Freddie Newman, Alan Taylor also took an extreme measure. In 2006, he had given up all hope of finding Julie's remains and in an alcoholic rage strangled his best friend John Morrison with a belt. When he asked his motivation for killing his best friend, he told police that he wanted to commit a crime of the same level as David. This is why they say forgive people. Forgive people, because if you don't, you're gonna let that anger and that resentment and all of those negative emotions consume you, and now you're turning into the person that you don't want to be, a killer. Nah, this is crazy. This is a huge plot twist. He claimed that his alcoholism and post-traumatic stress disorder since Julie's death had left him a broken man. He felt that his only option was to be sent to the same prison as David. Wow, so he could get his revenge. At his sentencing, however, the judge realized that he wanted a revenge and sent him to a different prison than David. Wow, Alan was sentenced to life in prison in his hopes of ever finding the remains of Julie Patterson were gone. 3 months into his prison sentence, he took himself out in his cell. Oh my god, so Julie and Alan's daughter, or I think they had a daughter together, our mommy was, taken out of here, and now her dad was sent to prison purposely. It sounded like he sent himself to prison on purpose, and he took himself out. So I mean, what about the baby? Like, this is crazy. 9 years after the murder, the Darlington Police Chief Superintendent who worked the case made one last-ditch effort before his retirement. He visited David's prison with hopes of getting him to talk, but David refused to see him. He told prison guards, quote, "If anyone from the Durham Constabulary comes to see me, I will tell them to piss off," end quote. Wow. More than 20 years after the murder, Julie's family still struggles with the loss. So, guys, please, this story is a sign to forgive someone in your life. I don't know who that may be. Please forgive people, because you don't want to turn into those people. You don't want to be those people. Please forgive and allow God, if that's what you believe in or whatever you believe in, to do the work for you. This story turned into the worst. I mean, something that I would have never ever imagined. Like, I mean, I understand Alan Taylor, Julie's boyfriend, wanted revenge, but that wasn't the right way to go about it. Him being in prison is revenge. Him not being able to see the light of day ever again in his life, never being able to have a normal life, the best revenge you can get. Oh my goodness, like her death literally spiraled into two people taking themselves out. That is insane. I don't think I've ever read a crazier story than this, and the person that wrote this book saved this story as the last story on purpose. So this is crazy, y'all. So thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video with someone that may be interested in this type of content, and I'll see you guys in my next video.